Hi, second grade. So yesterday we spent some time talking about what it means to divide shapes into equal and unequal parts. We also learned that whenever we divide a shape into equal parts, it's called a fraction. Let's talk a little bit more about fractions today. So what is a fraction? A fraction is equal parts of a whole. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Here I have a cookie. And I have one part of my cookie that's eaten and one part of my cookie that's still there. Whenever we make a fraction, whenever we write a fraction, we are writing about the parts and the wholes. You are telling me how many parts you have and how many pieces were there altogether. The top number in a fraction is always called the numerator. We'll talk more about that as the week continues. But the top part is the numerator. The numerator, the top part, it's how many you have. It's the part, how many you have. You see that I put a number 1 here because I only have one part of my cookie. The other part disappeared. The other part was eaten. So I only have one part here. The bottom number is called the denominator. The denominator, the bottom part, is the whole. It's how many pieces were there altogether. So I know that there were 2 pieces in my cookie, which is why I wrote the number 2. So the top number, the numerator, is how many parts I have, and the bottom is how many parts were there in the whole. So I have one part of the 2 pieces that used to be there. I only have one left. Let's take a look at some other examples. Here we have a circle and I partitioned it, I divided it into 4 different pieces. So how many parts of my circle are orange? How many parts do I have that were colored in orange? 1. So 1 out of 4 pieces. I had 1 orange piece out of 4 pieces. Remember that the top number is how many pieces I have, and the bottom number is the whole, how many pieces I was talking about. So I have 1 out of 4. 1/4 of my circle is orange. Let's take a look at some other examples. Here we have a square. My square has 1 orange piece out of 2. So there were 2. That's why I have the 2 on the bottom. There were 2, but now I only have 1 piece that's orange. In my rectangle here, I have 2 pieces that are orange. I have 2 orange pieces out of how many? There were 1, 2, 3. So I have 2/3. 2 out of 3 pieces were orange. 2/3 were orange. The next few are not finished. We have to finish the next couple of ones. Here I have a rectangle and it's divided into 6 pieces. We know that there are 6 pieces altogether. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 pieces in my whole. We know that because they already wrote that for us. But how many pieces are orange? What number goes on the top? Which one's my numerator? What number goes on top? How many pieces I have orange? Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. So out of the 6, out of all 6 of them, only 4 of them are orange. So I'm going to go ahead and write the number 4. 4 orange pieces out of 6 pieces altogether. 4/6 were orange. Let's take a look at the next 2. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 orange pieces out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We already knew that there were 6 because they already gave us that number. But remember that the total number, I had 6. That was how many pieces were in my whole. And the orange pieces were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are 5 pieces. I'll write the number 5. There were 5 orange pieces out of 6 of them all together. There were 5 orange and there were 6 all together. Let's look at the last one. I already know that there are 8 pieces all together. Before I even count them, I already knew that there were 8 because they already told me that. And I know that the denominator, the bottom number, is how many are all together. It's my whole. So I know that there should be 8 pieces all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, there were 8 pieces all together. Now, how many of those 8 pieces are orange? Go ahead and count them. I'll give you a second. There should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 orange pieces out of 8. So there were 6 orange out of 8 altogether. So remember that my top number is the part. How many do I have? How many am I talking about? Whether it's how many pieces of my cookie do I have left, or how many pieces of my shape are orange, how many am I talking about? That's the top number. The bottom number was how many did I have altogether? How many did I have altogether in my cookie? How many in my shapes did I have before I started coloring some orange ones in? So the top is the part, the bottom is the whole. I do have a bonus piece of information to give you. If you notice, the bigger the number on the bottom, the smaller the pieces are. So let's take a look at my 6 and my 8s. If you take a look, I have more pieces on the bottom. I have more pieces on the bottom one than on the top one. I have 8 pieces here and 6 pieces here. And my number on the bottom, my 8s, the pieces are smaller than the 6s. That's because I'm splitting up my circle, or I'm splitting up my cookie into a bunch more pieces because I'm sharing it with a whole lot of people. If I'm sharing a cookie with just one other person, we get a lot of pieces we get a big piece of cookie, right? But if I was sharing this cookie with 4 people, or 6 people, or 8 people, or 20 people, we would each get a smaller and smaller piece of cookie because there's a lot more people to share with. So the bigger the number on the bottom, the smaller the pieces get. But we'll talk a little bit more about that as we continue throughout the week. I just wanted to show you today how we write a fraction. Remember that the top number is called the numerator. That's how many parts we have. And the bottom number is called the denominator. That's how many pieces did we have all together.